KSQLDB has a lot of functions that allow us to operate with values and aggregate rows. And this is extremely useful, and we have used it in our past tutorials to create counts of the goals and to do uppercase transformations. But today we're going to be talking about the power of user-defined functions. These are functions that we can create on our own by creating a Java application. So the range of possibilities of these functions is truly amazing. Welcome to Programming with Mati. Alright, so in our last episodes, we have been describing how to work with KSQLDB using our football players database. And I hope you have been enjoying these tutorials. If you have, please subscribe to the channel. And if you haven't seen them yet, I encourage you to see it now, because they are going to be very important for what we're going to do now. Because I'm counting on you having followed through those tutorials so that you have the database in the state that I have it right now. But basically what we're going to do is we are going to create a new function that we don't have to get tweets from internet and to put them into our new table that we're going to create. So basically we're going to join these tweets with the players. So for example, let's say we are working for newspaper, something like that, and we want to see the latest tweets about a player. So we're going to create a function that will go and retrieve those tweets from the internet, and we are going to put them in the new table that we're going to create. Basically for this I have created an empty project which I have called KSQL UDF tutorial, which I'm going to upload into GitHub, and you'll have access to this. And this project is a Java project using Java 11. Because of the version that we're using of KSQL, I'm using this version of Java as well. But I'm going to add some dependencies here. In order to add these dependencies, you'll have to add a repository like this. So I'm going to add the repositories right here. And this is Confluent repository. So you'll have to add this into your settings as well, to your Maven settings. And then I'm going to be adding some dependencies. So the first dependency I'm going to add is, I'm going to put here dependencies, and I'm adding this dependency, which is called Confluent KSQLDB UDF. UDF stands for user defined functions, because we're going to create functions that are going to be defined by us. I'm also going to add a few things that I'll need for testing and for the creation of this. So I'm adding Jackson to serialize JSON format. I'm going to add log4j just for logging, and finally I'm going to add JUnit, and that's all. Alright, so now that we have this, I'm going to explain a little bit how this UDF works. So KSQL UDF, this module here that I have imported, basically allows you to create new user-defined functions, and there are some annotations that are provided by KSQL so that we can create these functions, and we have to use these annotations. They're quite straightforward. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create an interface. Let's call it Twitter service, and this interface I'm going to then create a dummy implementation, because I don't really want to create an implementation that will connect to Twitter right now. I'm going to do this to test this. Then I know I can connect to Twitter, so I don't need to do it explicitly. So, okay, so I'm going to have this, and this is going to return a list of tweets. And I'm going to call this function get relevant tweets. And this function is going to receive a string, which is the player name. So basically, with the player name, I'm going to get a list of the most relevant tweets. And I had to create this class tweet. So I'm going to create this class. And actually, I'm going to put this in a different package. So I'm going to say new package programming with Mati, KSQL, UDF, Twitter. I'm going to put this here. And I'm going to create this new class in this package as well. And this class is going to have Twitter ID, let's see, private string ID. It's going to have private string user, private string text. So that's it. I don't really care about anything else. And one of the advantages of doing this, instead of using the actual Twitter API, is that I can define whatever I want from that API and then just create an adapter for that. So this interface is going to be my adapter of that, of using the Twitter API. So I'm going to create a default constructor. Because I'm using Java 11, I don't have records. Otherwise, I would have used records for this. I'm going to define a constructor as well. And I still want the default one, so I'm going to say tweet, because I'm going to be using Jackson to serialize and deserialize this thing. So still want that, and I'm going to create getter and setters. I want for everything, not just for that. So okay, I'm going to do one by one. It's not that bad. All right, so we have all the getter and setters, and I'll just also generate the equals and hash code. I'm going to put those on the bottom. I don't like them here. I'm moving them into the bottom. And I think we're good. All right. So now everything is where it's supposed to be. And we are ready to implement our dummy implementation for this. So I'm going to create an implementation with Alt Enter, implement interface, and I'm going to say dummy Twitter service. Right? So now it's returning null. So how do I want to implement this? So basically I want to return a list of random tweets. So I've asked ChatGPT to generate this list of random tweets that I can use. So I'm going to copy those. So I'm going to have this logic first, saying, for example, if the name is Messi, then return some Messi tweets. If the name is Ronaldo, then return some Ronaldo tweets. Otherwise, return whatever. I have these three methods. And here are the tweets that I have generated with ChatGPT. And you can ask ChatGPT to generate them using this format already. So this is really useful. And I'm copying Messi's tweets, and finally random tweets for a random player in here. So we have everything that we want. We have our dummy service. And now the important part. Now we're going to create the actual UDF, the user-defined function. So for this, I'm going to say Twitter UDF. And I'm going to create a method here, also called string and apply. And this is going to receive a string as a parameter, the player name. So now we have to describe this function, and for this we're going to be using the annotations that are provided by the KSQLDB API. How do we do this? So basically I'm going to say I'm going to use this annotation UDF description, and I have a bunch of properties here that I need to put. So first, name. The name is going to be get relevant tweets. Okay. Then description. Looks for relevant tweets about the player. Then the version of the function, let's say it's 0.1.0, and the author, Matthias Salon. Right? That's easy. And then we have to use also a descriptor here. So I'm going to say UDF, user-defined function. There is another kind, which is UDAF, which is user-defined aggregation function. But we're going to use this one. And in here we also put a description. I'm going to copy the description here because I don't want any difference. And then there is another thing that I need to put, which is the parameters. So UDF parameter. And in here I'm going to say value, player name, and the description is going to be the name of the player to retrieve tweets. Okay, so really easy. And that's it, basically. So now this is described in a way that KSQLDB can use it. Then we'll see how we can integrate this into KSQLDB. But for now, this is here already fully described, and we just need to now implement the logic. So I'm going to say return. I'm going to put the Twitter service here. So I'm going to say private final Twitter service, new dummy Twitter service, and I'm going to have a logger as well. So public static final logger. And I'm going to have because I want this to return a string in the JSON format, because this I'm going to return the list of tweets in a string format, but it's going to be a JSON, so that we could eventually use it. So I'm going to say public static final object mapper, And if you have used Jackson before, you know this is the Jackson's object mapper so that I can turn objects into JSON. So I usually use this when I want to transform things into JSON, so this is why I'm using this. So now it's really simple. I need to call the Twitter service, get relevant tweets, and send the player name, which is our parameter. And also I'm going to call the object mapper and say write value as a string so that it can return a string. And this can throw an exception. So I'm going to surround this with try and catch. So I'm going to still return here. And in here, I'm going to say logger error retrieving tweets. And I'm going to put the exception here. And the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to return, because KSQLDB doesn't even if it fails, it seems like it swallows the exception. So it's better to return something. You could return an error that could be parsed eventually by you. So I'm going to return an error here, like a JSON error. So I'm going to say I'm going to put this. I'm going to use multi-line string. I don't know if I have this in Java 11. Let's see. No, I don't have it. So I'm not going to use it. So, all right, I'm not going to be able to use that. I'm going to use a regular string. And I'm going to say error. Error retrieving tweets. And I'm going to say, put there also a message of the error. So I'm going to say string format and e.getMessage, so that I have some sort of idea what happened. And what else? I think that's it. So now I can compile this and I can integrate it into KSQLDB. So here I'm in KSQLDB and I can say show functions. And this is going to show me the list of functions that I have available. You see we have the aggregate functions, we have conditional functions, and then we have regular expressions, strings. So we have a lot of different functions, right? These are all functions that come with KSQLDB. And I can also run a describe function. So describe sum. Sorry, I had to say describe function sum. I think I misspelled something. Just copy this. Describe function sum. Okay, and here's the description, name, author, type of the function, internal, and all these. But now I'm going to be adding my own function. So how do I do this? If we go back to our KSQLDB tutorial, here we have a bunch of files that are inside the containers of the server. And we have the files that are in our KSQLDB server. So in this KSQLDB server, I have added a new folder called extensions. This folder extensions is going to contain the different jars that are going to have these user-defined functions. But I need to configure for the server to know what folder to use. I'm going to configure this here. To configure this, I have to say KSQL dot extension dot there, and then I had to copy where I'm going to put this. So you see we are using etc KSQLDB server for the content of this folder. We're using KSQLDB server slash extensions. So I'm going to say KSQLDB server slash extensions. Okay? So it's KSQL extension there, and we're going to put this in here. So now what I have to do is I need to compile this. I'm going to package it into a jar using Maven package. This is going to be compiled and put into a jar. And finally, I'm going to grab that jar and put it in that folder. So if I go to the target, I can see this. Here's a jar, and I'm going to put it in here. Okay? So this jar contains the class that I created, the UDF class. So now, finally, what I need to do is I need to restart the KSQLDB server. So I'm going to restart it from here. If you don't have IntelliJ, you can also restart it from Docker Compose. It's not hard to do. So, but I do it from here because it's faster and easier to do. Right. So now our server should be running, and it should have our new extensions. So hopefully, if I run show functions, now we should see the new functions that I have. Okay, let's see. Is there any? And here we have it. Get relevant tweets. You see? Now we can also describe this function. Describe function get relevant tweets. Here we have get relevant tweets, author Matias Salerno, version, overview, looks for relevant tweets about the player, where is the jar, the type, it's a scalar, it's a value function, I'm not going to aggregate anything, and it receives a player name, the name of the player to retrieve tweets. So, amazing. All right, so if you remember, we have our player stats table. So I'm going to say select star from player stats, make changes, and I have this table here. So now I'm going to be adding the tweets to this table. So I'm going to say select player ID, name, nationality, goals, average, goals, assists, and get relevant tweets with the name of the player. And in here I'm going to put choose tweets from player stats and make changes. And in here we have our tweets. So Lionel Messi, Argentinian, 3 goals, and in here we have the tweets, and it says, wow, just witnessed a mesmerizing goal So you see all the tweets that we have here. So let's see. Seems like there is an error here, right? Because I see user and I see the text of the goal, and then I see text and I see the user. So there's actually a mistake here. So why don't we go and fix that mistake? If I go here, let's see, we have, all right, so here I guess we had a problem where we created our tweets. I think this should be the other way around, should be first text and then user. So I'm going to move this into a different order, like that. And because I'm changing this, I'm going to change the version here. So you see, I'm going to say 2.0, and I'm going to once I do this, what else? Okay, so I need to compile again. Now, just in case, I'm going to do a clean to make sure everything is compiled again. So I'm going to say now package. I go to the target and I have the new jar here. So I'm going to replace it here. Okay, and overwrite. And I need to restart the KSQL server. So I'm going to restart this. Restart container. Right, so the server should have started. So let's see if I say describe function get relevant tweets. Now we can see we have the second version of the function, and we are going to run our query again. Same query, you see, we're getting the relevant tweets. And now let's see if we fix the error. Right, so text, wow, just witnessed a mesmerizing Messi goal. His precision and fitness are simply unmatched. Messi magic, football legend, user is football fanatic. So now we have fixed it. We have the second version. We made sure that we were using the latest version. So that is how we can use these functions. And I can what we can do is even create a table that will put this into Kafka. So you feel free to do that and tell me how it went. All right, so we saw how we can create our user-defined functions in a very simple way. We saw that it's incredibly easy to do, but you can imagine the power you can get with this. I mean, we created a mock implementation, but we can actually go and consume APIs all over the internet using this technology. Or we can basically create functions that have some business logic that would be a bit harder to express in SQL, in plain SQL. So we can use our Java program to express that function in a better way and then put it in here so that anyone can use it. So the range of possibilities is increased a lot with the use of user-defined functions. So I challenge you to come up with new functions and use them so that you can try these and experiment and have fun learning. So if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and I'll be waiting for all of you in the next episode. Bye!